Hi, I'm Gary White for Channel 6, Central Kentucky Television. I'm here with Dr. Trish Ciccone at Central Kentucky Optometric Associates for our regular monthly update on all things eyes, right? Eye care.
Yeah.
And today we're going to talk about, we had a viewer who asked about color blindness. So first of all, could you tell us what is color blindness?
Color blindness is, it's a congenital, you could call it a defect or an anomaly, and how your cones interpret the color signals or the visible spectrum. So people who are color blind per se really aren't blind, and they do see color, so it's not like they walk around in a black and white world, which is what a lot of us kind of think. They just perceive color differently than the rest of us.
Okay.
It's more common in males than it is in females. 1 out of every 10 males, statistically, has a color vision defect. So if you took a room and put 10 males in there, in the room, probably one of them would have a color vision defect. So it's pretty common in the male population. Females, it's more like about 1 in every 200,000. Wow. Most people have what's called a red-green or deuteranomaly defect, and that generally makes it hard to differentiate kind of the reds and the reddish browns with the greens and the greenish browns, and they kind of muddle together and are hard to differentiate. Now, most people who are color deficient, and that's probably a better term, more politically correct, is saying you're color deficient as opposed to color blind. They can still most of the time tell which stoplights are lit up, you know, and when to stop and when to go. Think about that statistically. 1 out of every 10 males is color deficient. If they couldn't tell which stoplight was lit up, we'd have a lot more accidents than we do. Right. So they know when, most of them know when to stop and when to go with that. So I think the thing to keep in mind with color deficiency is that when kids and young adults are making career choices, there are some careers that have restrictions, and if you're color deficient, you can't get a job in those fields. You can't be a pilot. You can't be a certified electrician. And some of the law enforcement, it's not that you can't go into law enforcement, but they might limit what you do. And some of the armed forces, again, might limit some of the things that you can do because of that color vision deficiency. A lot of the graphic arts fields also, you know, you might go to college and think you're going to have this great career in graphic arts and then try and go get a job, and the first thing they do during the interview is throw down a color vision test. And if you don't do well on that, they just check you off the hired list. So it's always good for folks to know when they have a color deficiency, so that they can make career choices.
And is that a test that you do here? Yeah,
we do it as standard part of a routine eye exam, sure.
And would you grow into color deficiency, or if you have it, you have it?
If you're born with it, you're born with it. If you're not, you're not. Now, there are other kinds of disease processes that can cause other types of red-green, or a yellow-blue deficiency, some macular pathologies and optic nerve pathologies. So those are kind of color deficiencies that you can kind of grow into. Cataracts can also distort your perception of color also. So someone who has a cataract developing might see color differently than they used to. So an acquired color deficiency is generally a little more ominous, and generally more of the yellow-blue colors as opposed to the inherited red-green. The inheritance pattern is generally sexually on the sex gene, so that women hand it down to their sons. So the woman or the mother is not generally colorblind, but she carries the gene, and she hands it down to her sons. So she might have some brothers that are colorblind or color deficient, and then her kids probably have a 50-50 chance, if she has sons, to hand down that gene. Now, her daughter might not be color deficient, but she might have the gene, and she might hand it down to her sons. So that's generally how that works. There are some other variations of that, but that's generally how that works.
Now, also, is there a cure or some way to fix this situation?
There is no cure for color deficiency, especially the inherited kind, or the genetic kind. But there are some lenses that you can wear that help you differentiate color more like the rest of us. That's probably the best way to describe that. There's a contact lens called the X-Chrome contact lens. It's been out for years. And there you can get on the internet and they'll have some advertising. And again, I haven't tested any of these products to see how good they are or how good they aren't. But be careful. They do help you filter light differently and help you see colors differently, but it doesn't cure your color deficiency. So that's the deal there. And you might be spending a lot of money on something that might help you see differently, but maybe not what you're expecting.
Right.
So,
are there any other issues that can come from being color deficient?
Mostly, I would think it's mostly employment is the biggest limiter factor. And, you know, you might run around with miscolored socks a little bit. A lot of people who are color deficiency say they have their spouse help them, you know, match their colors and stuff better.
So that's a little about color deficiency. And if you have any other questions, you can contact Central Kentucky Optometric Associates. And it is a test that you do routinely, right?
Routinely, part of our routine vision exam.
Okay. And what are the phone numbers here for Central Kentucky Optometric Associates?
Lebanon is 270-692-1871. And Springfield is 859-336-9388.
Thank you very much.
You have a good day.
Thank you. This has been Gary White with Dr. Trish Ciccone down at Central Kentucky Optometric Associates.